Welcome to Growing Older with Gusto, the podcast dedicated to hosting and interviewing people who are showing by example that they're growing older in a positive and productive way. So many of us have experienced having a parent or other loved one who choose to stay in their homes as they grow older. And we know how complicated things can become when health issues arise. Today's guest on the podcast is Mike Carter, who is the founder and president of Coast Family Home Care. Mike began his company in the mid-'80s after becoming his dad's primary caregiver during his battle with pancreatic cancer. His company that he started is dedicated to helping older people age with dignity, and today he leads a group of 25 to 50 caregivers, oversees approximately $1.5 million in annual revenue, and has helped many families through the critical stages of care. Mike is known for combining compassionate care with operational excellence, and he is elegant too, I might add. He's also a family man, enjoys traveling and camping in his free time, and as those of you who know me, you know my connection to pancreatic cancer. So it was just coincidental that Mike and I are connected, and I'm so glad to have him on the show today. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Well, thank you very much, Gail. I'm glad to be here and help you any way I can in this battle against cancer and helping folks stay at home.
Mike, tell us about how your personal life experience led you to becoming an advocate for aging in place. It's so interesting.
Well, what started for me was I grew up in Northern California, close to a town called Placerville, which is old Hangtown. It was the county seat for El Dorado County, and gold was discovered there in Coloma. And I grew up about 4 miles from that statue where John Marshall's pointing. There's gold in the American River there. And so, in saying that, we're in a rural community. And so, when my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and you mentioned in the middle of the 80s, I believe it was 1983, there was no home care companies. There was really nobody for us to reach out to in the community for anybody to take care of my father. So I was living in Sacramento at the time, and it was devastating to my family. My father was the sole provider. My mom did not work. And not only was he given 90 days to live, but they still had a mortgage and they still had bills to pay. And so I moved back home and took over those responsibilities for my folks and as well as my brother. And
how old were you at the time this all went down?
I was 27, 26, wow. 27, and my brother two years younger than myself. And he actually quit his job, and I continued to work while my brother was his daytime caregiver. And, like I said, there was just nobody. In those days, it was basically if you knew a retired nurse or somebody like that, we're asking the doctor, and he didn't have nobody. And so, it's just left to the family. And, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just literally lifting him up out of bed and putting him on the potty and taking care of his personal needs and on like that. And so in that process, I just thought there's got to be a better way. I mean, we didn't have a hospital bed. There was no hospice. There was none of that stuff. We just had to figure it out, And so that's what inspired me to start my company and help folks that couldn't help themselves, especially in areas that are hard to get to.
That's great. So what's the most important thing that people who want to age in place can do for themselves or for family members who want to stay in the same home as they grow older?
I think one of the most important things, it depends on their condition. Make your home suitable, so you can live there comfortably. Okay, if you have
What does
ambulation.
that involve, Mike? What is it? What
Well, if you have ambulation issues, if you can't walk, okay, let's put a plan in place, okay, whether it's a walker or whether it's those little Jazzies electric vehicles that can get you around, especially if you're having pain, let's get that figured out where you can get from the bedroom to the living room, outside, and still enjoy the activities that you normally would, okay, without help. And there's all kinds of different ways we can help folks in that regard. And and this statistically, 90% of people want to stay at home. They want to age at home and they want to pass at home. And so we do that as well as anybody. And whether it involves equipment, Hoyer lifts, some of the technology. I've had bedbound people with Lou Gehrig's disease, where they actually have like a track on the ceiling, and it comes down, and you got you have the Hoyer lift, the harness, and it lifts them up. It looks like a garage door opener, and it takes them from point A to point B. I had a customer where we put him on the toilet, and then we tracked him over to the shower. And then after we got his morning routine, taken care of, his hygiene, his breakfast, and his shower, and we put him in his electric chair, and then he went out in the garage and fooled around on the workbench all day. And that kept him happy.
Now, is that type of situation people are living alone, or they have help, or because it sounds like you're talking more about having somebody have the functionality that they need to just get
even with the
everyday life.
functionality, people are home. His wife was home. What I'm saying is that gives you the independence. This is what keeps people from getting depressed. Okay,
Right.
They're no longer themselves. Okay, they're no longer the Mike Carter man that could walk all over and lift everything and mow the lawn and all those stuff. And when they lose that, if you don't have a solution for them, then here comes the depression, and they're just sitting, and the attitude's not good, and they just see no hope. We provide hope. You can do this. We can. This is why I love your the name of your show, Aging with Gusto. I mean, it's all up. This is right here between the ears. I mean, let's be positive about this, and let's make this work. And first thing I ask folks where's your pain at? Okay, as I just turned a very youthful 70, and I got pain. Okay, I mean, and from whether you've torn a rotator cuff or it's a hip or whatever, let's don't get down about it. Let's manage it with gusto, with enthusiasm, and let's enjoy the rest of our life and our grandkids and all that stuff.
So, what are some easier fixes for people? For example, my husband and I recently did a bathroom renovation, and we put in skid-free floors for the shower and for the actually bathroom floor that are really lovely and nice. What are some other simple fixes that you can recommend?
Well, that's a good one. Well, statistically, two places in the home that the falls happen the most: the bathrooms and the kitchens. Okay, being a numbers guy and being in sales years before, that's where that's all going on. Absolutely, the rugs are horrific, especially if you're in a walker stage and you're scooting around. A rug or a throw rug will take you down in a heartbeat. Get rid of those. So I like the hardwood and I like the tile when you're scooting around with a walker. Always use your walker. Always, always, always. Okay? Because especially with the females, the bone density, gets weaker and weaker, and falling and breaking a hip can be horrific. You can go to the hospital, and there's a lot of numbers out there that a lot of these folks don't come home because they get into the hospital and you're over 80 and you broke a hip, then, what you see is here comes a heart attack or something else, the body, the trauma, and, it leads to other things. And so keeping them upright, not falling is paramount. And that's why you have the hospital beds where people, we can raise them up and down. They can get out of bed safer, transfer easier, those sort of things. The proper chairs, the right height of things, especially if you're having trouble getting up. They have those chairs that will actually lift you now, and those kind of little solutions to get you up into your walker. And that's to be independent. Now, if you got folks there that can help you get up, like with caregivers and stuff, absolutely utilize their help for sure. But you can still help yourself and stay, independent if you have the right attitude and want to do that.
Okay, let's pivot a little bit, Mike, and talk a little bit to our listeners about the pros and cons of long-term care insurance.
The pros and cons of long-term care insurance. Well, I would say the pro is obviously the benefit, the dollar amount. They help people tremendously. You talk about saving for a rainy day. I think that folks that have invested in long-term care insurance, this has literally saved their future to stay home, especially if the care is advanced. And when I'm saying advanced, 8 hours plus a day. Okay, where they need somebody to do everything for them. And so it's wonderful if you have that financial ability to take care of it, because we know insurance doesn't really do it except for long-term care. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, the con, I would say, from our experience, it depends on the companies. A lot of them have 90-day activation requirements. And
what does that mean?
That means that they won't start paying for care till after 90 days from the time you initiate the policy. But the caveat there is they want you to have care in place for 90 days. Mm-hmm. Okay. They want you to have a caregiver, and then their coverage will start, and then they will start paying the benefit. And I've seen them anywhere from 30 to 90. But the con, and adding to the con, is, a lot of the kids don't even know that their folks have these policies. And then when they find them and they call them, they're a little frustrated to learn that they got to wait 90 days before the help kicks in or the benefit kicks in. And then they have to pay out of pocket for that 90 days. And they're upset about that. They think that it should start immediately, and some do start immediately, but obviously the premium is higher.
Got it.
But they're easy to deal with, and they pay us in our agency. That process is very professional, and dealing with agents and everything, very professional.
Okay. Now, I know you believe in being proactive with the issue of the aging and personal care. What are some ways you talked a little bit about mobility? What about cognitive challenges for people that are wanting to age in place? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, sure. Those folks can be a little more challenging. We're talking memory issues. I think sometimes people wait too long before they call in for help. And so that's a challenge. And a lot of the cognitive folks are in denial about their decline. And they can be fussy, and so they can be challenging, but they're very important from the standpoint that they can be unsafe, they can take off, they can wander the neighborhoods, they can get lost. Right. They most certainly repeat a lot. And so you have to have an excellent caregiver that is very patient, and understanding, and just go along with that same question all day long. Staying at home for them is so much better than a memory unit. I've been in so many memory units. These rooms are small. They're confined. When I mean confined, they're locked in. Okay, they may have.
Yeah, Mike, let me ask you something. Does Coast Family Home Care, do you provide caregivers for people who have memory issues or cognitive
Oh,
decline?
absolutely. That's a big part of our book is
Oh,
memory
okay.
care. You bet. I mean, folks that are physically fine, but
Yeah.
they don't remember yesterday. You know. Yeah.
Wow. So, how could a concerned family member figure out like the best type of care that may be needed for home care? Like, do you offer like a blueprint for families? It's like what would be the most important things for family members to be aware of in order to make sure it's a good fit for their loved one?
Are you talking about the caregiver or the business itself?
Well, basically, what
Both.
kind of care? Yeah, well, I would say
Yeah,
both.
yeah. Well, when your folks, stop taking care of themselves, when their clothes are dirty, when they're not taking showers like they should be, okay, and you see a bunch of dead stuff in the refrigerator, the lawn hasn't been mowed for several weeks, and bills aren't being paid like they used to be. Your folks are screaming for help. And
Right.
regardless of what they're telling you, oh, I'm fine, everything's fine. I just called so and so, he'll do the lawn. Well, they're going to forget to call the guy because they haven't called him in 2 months. And the food thing is the expiration dates, and you'll just notice the refrigerator. And there's just a lot of red flags, just like what I just explained. When you see those, it's
Yeah.
time. They need help. They need somebody in there to look after them and get the laundry done. And you'll notice the dishes won't be done. And there's no fresh food, no anything, no produce. And they may be living on pudding cups, and I've seen it, or cookies. Okay, and
Let me ask you, Mike, does your business, do you expand nationally or what, do you have a certain geographic area where
yeah, I'm
you're
on the Central Coast of
prevalent?
California, and we're plenty big enough. We cover the entire Central Coast. And in my prior life, I was a regional sales manager for a major paint company, and I certainly don't want that responsibility again. That what we have now is just perfect, and that's why I named it Coast. If you want to continue and go up the coast to Washington and all on like that, you're all set up. But here where we're at, Santa Maria, California, I'm in between Santa Barbara and San Luis. Beautiful communities, more of a retirement community. So a lot of folks leave the big city, LA and San Francisco, and come to the Central Coast to retire. And so it's a hotbed for home care,
Yeah,
at least for my company. And
that's great.
yeah.
Well, I'm out of questions, Mike, unless you have any other nuggets of wisdom in your area to talk about. I want to thank
Well,
you for.
I would
Yeah.
just say that our business, home care, and aging with Gusto, I'm so glad it's on everyone's radar now. When I first started 16 years ago, we weren't even licensed. There was no oversight by the state, and on like that. So we progressed to where we're getting a lot of respect from the medical community, and we're getting, we're getting referred from them. And I think they really see the benefit of folks getting care at home as opposed to leaving the hospital and falling again and right back in the hospital. Okay. And we help keep people in their homes safely
That's great.
with respect.
What if somebody from the Central Coast wanted to contact you? What's the best way?
Well, they can go to our website, coastfamilyhomecare.com, or they can just call the office, which is area code 805-934-0600, and they'll talk to either Shirley, Gloria, or Mike, the three of us
Okay.
in the office, and we would love to help them.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This has been
Well, thank you,
interesting.
Gail.
And keep on doing what you're doing. It's all good.
I appreciate you.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Mike.